headwinds, tailwinds, legal, illegal. Have you heard any of these terms when you're watching athletics and maybe you've been wondering what they all mean? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be unpacking legal wind assistance for you. Hi guys, and welcome back to Fit with T. So today we're talking about legal wind assistance in athletics. Athletics is, generally speaking, an outdoor sport. We do have indoor competitions, but generally speaking, we class athletics as an outdoor sport. When it comes to the summer, you have outdoor athletics. And so the weather does play a big part in athletics. If you know any athletes, or if you're an athlete yourself or a coach, then obviously you know that when it comes to competition time, as soon as you get to the venue, especially if you're a sprinter or a jumper, you're looking to check which way is the wind going. Am I running into the wind? Is it against me? Or do I have a tailwind? Is it going to aid me in my running? So for you newbies who may not know what I'm talking about, that's what we're talking about today. So in athletics, you may or may not know that in the sprints, there is a wind gauge that gets placed halfway down the track. So for events from the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the 100 and 110 meter hurdles, the 60 meters if it does take place outside, and then in the jumps as well. So in the long jump and in the triple jump, you also have a wind meter reading. When it comes to wind, the reason that we only pay attention to the wind, particularly in the short sprints, is because they are taking place in one direction. So in events from 400 meters upwards, because they go around the track, if they're running into the headwind on the home straight, then on the back straight they're going to have a tailwind, and so it ends up balancing itself out, which is why a wind meter reading is not taken in events from 400 meters upwards. A headwind is when the wind is into your face. But if you're running into the wind, that is what we call a headwind. Now, that for sprinters and for jumpers does have a negative effect. Obviously, you're running into the wind, it's always going to be harder. You're running against a resistance, which means that you're less likely to run a quick time. But obviously, in a race, if it's a championship, for example, where it's more so about positions, you can still position well, but you may not get a time that you may be looking for or trying to qualify with, for example. But a headwind can be as strong as it wants to, and the race will still be legal. Now, when the wind is behind you, that is a tailwind, and because that does provide some assistance, there is a legal limit on that wind. The legal limit for a tailwind is plus 2.0 meters per second. Anything up to that level is called a legal tailwind. If the wind is over that, so even if it's plus 2.1, then it will be an illegal time. So in that competition, like I said, because everyone in your race has the same advantage, it doesn't affect your position in the race, it doesn't affect your qualification in that specific competition. However, the time that you get in that race doesn't count as a legal time when it comes to ranking or when it comes to trying to qualify, because it's over the legal wind limit. For a headwind, that would be written with a minus number. So for example, let's say you're running into a headwind of minus 1.0. That would mean that the wind is moving that 1 meter per second into your face as you would run in. So the wind gauge in the middle of the track would have picked it up at that speed. Sometimes it's quite difficult, because sometimes when you have a swirling wind, sometimes as athletes we feel like the wind doesn't reflect what we were feeling in the race, but it is what it is at the end of the day. But when it comes to a headwind, there is no limit on how strong a wind can be. Of course, it's preferable that you don't have a headwind, but such as life, especially if you live here in the UK. When it comes to a tailwind, it will be written with a plus in front of it. Plus 2.0 would mean that that was a 2 meters per second wind that was behind you, assisting you in your running. And like I said before, 2 meters per second is the maximum that it can be for a legal time. Anything above that, you may run fast, you may get to run a PB, but it will be classed as a windy PB if you do run it there, and it won't count towards any legal qualifications, rankings, etc. Of course, in all events, the wind is going to have some kind of impact, but it's not going to impact whether your performance is legal or illegal in the other events. So of course, if you're a vertical jumper, if you're doing pole vault or high jump, you're going to possibly change or adjust your run up, change or adjust certain things based on the wind and the weather in general. That's the case in all types of weather anyway. You would adjust your warm up on a very, very hot day, for example. So the weather in general makes a big difference in athletics, but when it comes to wind in particular, the wind does have a say as to whether your performance is legal or illegal in the events that I've mentioned before. So when it comes to the combined event, that's the heptathlon, the decathlon that take place outside. If there is a pentathlon outside, then it will count for that as well. There's different rules when it comes to the legal wind limit. So they're allowed to have up to a plus 4.0 wind for any particular event, or they must have an average of plus 2.0 across their event in that competition. So what happens if there's no wind meter reading? where there is no wind gauge to record the actual wind meter reading, then the performances that you achieve in that competition won't count towards any legal records. If you happen to run a PB on a day where there's no wind gauge, then it won't count towards a legal PB, unfortunately. So not only does there have to be a legal limit of up to plus 2.0 in the event mentioned before, there also has to be a wind meter reading to let us know what the wind was on that particular day in that particular race. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. Let me know in the comment section below, what is the strongest wind that you've ever run into? And what is the strongest wind that you've had behind you? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you are enjoying the content I'm making here on my channel, guys, please check out my Patreon, where you can support me for a small amount monthly, which just allows me to keep creating content like this. And if you like this video, guys, please give it a big thumbs up to help me accelerate my channel. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe now. And I'll see you guys next Friday.